The good Dr. J. Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from ManUp America. Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending, with refi options. Just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. J. Adam sent you.
Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative is standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
This 1957 novel, penned by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged, has become the Bible for a lot of small government libertarians. For the most part, the book is a fictional account of an American society in which all of the industrious people, the hard workers, leave and go start a new society, mostly because all of the leeches and big government have taken over capitalism and commerce. Now, it's a fictional account, but why does it resonate with so many conservatives in today's society? We'll take this for instance. I'm a middle-class small business owner. I pay more in withholdings every month to the government than I do to my church and to charities, than I do on my mortgage, or than to feed my 4 children. My parents, who are lower middle class, can't even sell an old rental house that we grew up in because the government would make more money than they would. So what we see is government is expensive. There comes a point where it costs to have government. Recent studies show that you could tax 100% of millionaires 100% of their money, and it would only fund the federal government for 4 months. So the middle class, you're on the hook, and it's just a matter of time before we run out of money. That's your Man Up moment. Join us Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on WTNB television for ManUp America. Also simulcast on Talk 101.3 The Buzz. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. All right, today on ManUp America, how fast should a bus really go on county roads? Ooh, we went there. But in other news, it looks like old Shay Donald hadn't tweeted too much today. What do you say, Mitch?
I don't know about that. I don't. I think I might disagree with you.
You might
on that
disagree.
one.
I will take it up here. Once again, you're listening to Man Up America right here on Talk 101.3 The Buzz WTNB.
The DJ accepts no responsibility for the next record.
Say what? Oh no, he said. Where's the money, man? Where's my money?
It's time to Man Up, America.
Let's do this.
We are live right here in WTNB Studios in Cleveland, Tennessee. You're listening to us on Man Up America, Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNB Television. That's Charter Channel 5, Mitch, Comcast 210, digital TV dial 27.1, and then to our wonderful friends on the socials, Facebook Live! We're live, Facebook Live! We've got a great guest in the studio with us today. Brian is from the Cleveland Daily Banner. He's been on the show before when we talked about the credibility of media and media honesty. So Brian Graves is going to be back with us after the commercial break. He's going to sit here in case he's got some 2 cents to add in on the news,
Right.
Which we obviously covered in the first part of the show. But yeah, no, Donald's not tweeting anything,
No.
right?
No.
He's not tweeting. Mitch,
No.
tell us the latest Trump tweet.
Am I allowed to say that word on air?
No. Can you? Is there a
Okay.
replacement word that we can reach for?
Heck? Is that a replacement?
Heck will work.
Okay. Well,
You have to do it in your best Donald Trump
I don't
voice.
have a good Donald Trump voice.
Well, do a bad Donald Trump
I
voice.
don't have a bad Donald Trump voice either. I guess I'm assuming he's referring to Hillary Clinton here. Okay, so if we back up to the first tweet in the series,
Give context to our listeners.
right, released by intelligence, I'm doing air quotes. Even knowing there is no proof and never will be, my people will have a full report on hacking within 90 days. Then he goes on to say, what are Hillary Clinton's people complaining about with respect to the FBI based on their information they had? She never have been allowed to run. Guilty as heck.
Lock her up.
Lock her
her up.
They were very nice to her. She lost because she campaigned in the wrong states. No enthusiasm.
She lost, so she campaigned in the wrong states. Okay.
I don't know.
Where's
I
the
mean,
heck? Did you say the heck?
Guilty as heck.
Guilty. Oh, guilty as heck. Okay,
That's
so that's
what
what it
he
was.
went there. He went there hard.
So
He didn't say heck either.
I don't know what to say about this. Number one, it's recycled sentiment, obviously from the campaign, but
Right.
Trump has kind of said she's lost, forget about her, move on. But now
But we're not
back.
moving on.
No, we're not moving on.
Right.
Yesterday, to piggyback on this, there was a report, and it was kind of passed around the socials again, where Obama and Biden were briefed.
Right.
They were briefed on the Russian hacking and the alleged incidents that Shay Donald had found himself in, the conundrums Donald had found himself in, allegedly.
Why would they need to be briefed on that?
Well, this is what I found interesting. Okay, so I read the source articles, and I think there were two key ones that kind of written that up. And Joe Biden's the one that kind of blurted it out.
Uncle
Imagine
Joe.
that.
Uncle Joe
Uncle
did
Joe.
what?
Uncle Joe just spilled the beans, right? Brian, would you give Uncle Joe a secret?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Brian trusts Uncle Joe. I'm going to miss Uncle Joe for no other reason than that's the best memes that circulated around the internet. So my favorite was the one where he said, hey, listen, I left Mike Pence 2 tickets to Hamilton. Watch this. You know, so he's just Uncle Joe in full effect. But Uncle Joe kind of blurts out and says, yeah, we were briefed. We got this report. I read it. And it stopped there.
Right.
For him and Obama. So they were briefed, and neither one of them commented, asked for any more information. So
Was
for me, that says...
Was it their business, though?
Well, I think
Is it-
anything related to national hacking is the president and vice president's business.
Okay.
I would think so. So I think it's their business, but I think their reaction speaks volumes. They read it. They didn't ask for anything more.
Right.
They didn't dig any deeper.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, it's either one of two things, okay? One of two things happen. Thing number one is that they read it and said, there's no substance here. This isn't credible. It's never going to stick. More likely, thing number two happened where they read it and said, oh, I'm not surprised. What do you say, Mitch?
I don't know. I don't know what to take on all this. I mean, it is. I tend to agree with you and think that your example number one of this isn't credible, it's not going to stick, doesn't quite fall in line with this administration's MO for the way they've done things. So maybe they just weren't surprised. And like you, they feel like he could do a plethora of things and no one would care.
I do. I do think he could do. He said himself he could shoot somebody on the street and not lose votes. And we laughed. And little did we know he could.
Now we know that he can do other things and allegedly do other things and have no consequence.
What say you, Brian?
I
You didn't know I was going to throw you into this one.
I was going to throw me into this.
I'm going to throw you into this one. So, okay, what do you think from a journalistic perspective? Obviously, the point of contention with the Russian hack dirt on Donald has been whether or not there's any journalistic integrity to the information.
Right.
From what you've read, as a media person who has to put on that filter, would you say this is something worth pursuing, or is this something that automatically gets put in the until other information comes forward stack?
I think that's part of the problem the media has now. The media is too prone to just run and print whatever they get without really vetting it.
Bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
I know we say that a lot, but
yeah. In fact, the column I had last week talked about that. I have a lot of things come over my desk, a lot of things that you just sort of go, no, we're not. That's ridiculous. It doesn't mean I don't look into it, but something of this nature, I fear, and some of the dots are starting to be connected from what I saw on the news last night. That this file or whatever it was developed by someone who was a contractor in Washington, D.C., and there's potential could be connections to opposition campaigns. I mean, this sounds like a James Bond novel. I don't know that it's national security, other than the fact a foreign country could be hacking into American technology. That, to me, is the security problem. As far as the information they found, I'm not sure that's that big a deal. Even if what they're saying is true, I'm not sure it's that big a deal.
Well, you hit that whole the journalistic integrity kind of thing, yeah. and how it seems to be even if it's not slipping.
24/7 News has started this.
Agreed. We talked about that last time you were on the program. Yeah. But even if it's not slipping, it's perceptively slipping.
Yes, I agree.
And the productivity of media is only as successful as people are willing to receive it.
Right.
Okay, so that's the case. I think, Mr. Producer, we might be fixing to lose another camera. So just to let you know. We talked a few days ago about Donald Trump and the exchange with the CNN reporter.
Who was a former reporter for WBIR-10 in Knoxville.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was there for about 3 years. Yeah.
And this is what I said. I understand that Donald kind of called him out and put him on the spot. But I also understand this. To whom much is given, much is required. Yes. And you've been given access to the president. And I still believe, and it has been with presidents past, that the authority of that podium, it's their discretion whether or not they take a question. And there's always been a blacklist with presidents. There's been questions they wanted and questions they didn't, people they wanted to get. So here's a reporter who, for the first time, was so aggressively persistent. And I kind of said to myself, even if you get the question answered, you've created an atmosphere where any sort of answer is going to be tainted with the scenario. So at what point do you stop to persist? And I don't know enough about being a reporter to dig into something like that. But what I do know is, as a consumer and a listener, I looked and thought, excuse me, that's the president-elect of the United States, and he's told you no question, and you persist.
Right.
As if and it's because it's clear you have no respect for him as the president, even though you should.
Well, I mean, there is a line that can be crossed. Now, look, he asked a legitimate question, and the president-elect should have been ready for it, and she actually should have answered it.
Actually, another reporter did ask the same question, and
yeah.
he did answer it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was clear that Donald wasn't scared of the question. He just wasn't going to give that
Right.
question to CNN.
Well, CNN, I'm not sure it was the reporter he was so upset with as it was the network. Because I think when Acosta asked it originally, I don't think it had that tone. But the more the president-elect refused to answer it, then the more battle-prone we got, the back and forth. Acosta probably should have pulled back a little bit. I do think there has to be a respect for the office, no matter who's in it. And that is a privilege to sit there and have permission to question the President of the United States. So there has to be some privilege appreciated and respect due. However, I come back to the fact the president-elect should have just answered the question. But I think there is a antipathy towards CNN and the network, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. And I don't think he was battling the correspondent as much as he was the network.
I agree.
Honestly.
I do, but I also...
Because Jim Acosta is a very good reporter.
Yeah,
very good reporter.
I think that a lot of people would agree with me on this. I was no fan of Barack Obama as my president. I did not vote for him either time. No. I was not a fan of what he represented before he came to office, nor what he represented as he was in office. In its entirety, no, but for the most part.
Yeah.
However, when foreign diplomats would disrespect my president, I took issue with that.
Sure.
I'd never wanted to see him get a verbal beatdown from Putin or from a foreign dignitary or in the UN. I didn't want to see him snubbed at this event. I didn't want to see people not extend their hand to shake. He's the president of the United States.
Right.
You don't respect the man, you still respect the office because the office is us.
That's right.
All right?
That's exactly right.
So it's kind of like the drunk uncle. I don't agree with him being drunk and off of his mind, but don't slap my uncle. You know what I mean? Call me, I'll slap him all day long. He's my uncle. So I felt that way, and I still feel that way about Donald Trump. I've been pretty open about the fact that Donald Trump was not my first choice for president, nor was he my second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I could keep going.
he wasn't in the top 10.
But he's the president-elect of the United States. And I felt, as average Joe American, halfway smart guy, that the CNN reporter was like, this may not fall on you, but this guy here has the authority to not like you right now because people put him in that position to not like you. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you're best suited to just back off a little bit and try to build a bridge back. And I think it's clear with Donald what I said the other day on the show. This is not a situation anymore where you have a president that's just going to take the high road. If you get dirty, he's going to get in the mud with you. He's going to punch back. So a lot of the aggressive behavior of the media that in the past produced results is not going to work anymore. So once again, back to why we started talking about this. Journalism's only as good as people are willing to accept and consume what you're giving.
Right.
So if your methods aren't working with this gentleman, you're best suited to review your methods.
I feel like every single member of the media needs to read The Strong-Willed Child, and then they will be better apt to deal with these press conferences.
Bringing up boys, right?
Right, yeah,
You know what I thought
exactly.
of when I saw that clip? I thought of Sam Donaldson.
Really? Explain.
Sam could be pretty in your face. But I think Reagan, and I think it's true that they sort of had a friendship. I mean, Donaldson still talks very highly about Reagan to this day. But Donaldson could throw some balls, and and Reagan would duck occasionally. But I just, I think a journalist can be. Well, look, let me put it this way. Hugh Downs had the greatest line of journalism that I've ever heard. There are no embarrassing questions. There are only embarrassing answers.
Okay. Just like there's no stupid people, only stupid questions.
Well, I don't know.
That was a coach of mine.
Yeah.
Actually, my coach used to say, "There's no stupid questions, just stupid people."
There we go.
but I mean, what Jim Acosta did the other day, I've seen before. I've seen other White House correspondents go at it.
Badger.
But I've also seen presidents that understood the game, basically. I mean, they were willing to do a little back and forth.
I was really waiting for Donald Trump to come around from that podium and for them to throw down. I mean, I was slightly disappointed that it didn't happen, honestly.
Donald doesn't come across to me like you remember the old Warner Brothers cartoons where there's the big dog and then the little dog jumping around.
Yeah.
Donald's wealth is kind of his big dog.
Yeah, right,
he's the little dog jumping around here. It's definitely entertaining, but I'm kind of ready for the adjustment. We know exactly what we're dealing with Donald Trump, and like it or not, you've got him for 4 years.
Yep.
All of you who vomit all over social media every negative article about Donald Trump, this is what I have to say to you, and I don't think I'm the only one. I've stopped following you.
Get over it.
So people stop reading media articles from the media if it becomes too venomous.
Right.
And it's the same way on social media. People stop consuming you, and so you are counterproductive to what you're trying to do. You're going to have to figure out this is who this man is, it's who he's going to be for the next 4 years. As a journalist in the White House press room now, you have to discover a way that you can get the information you need from this administration.
Right.
When you become president of the United States, you go in that office and you have to know that not only did you become president of the United States, you became, and this is probably not the best word I can come up with, you are a target. You are going to be verbally, physically, psychologically, and journalistically shot at hour after hour, day after day. You've got to expect that, and you've got to be ready for it. You got to have tough skin when you go in that office. The president-elect during the campaign certainly gave the impression of being a tough guy, and I think that's what people liked about him, that he's willing to fight back. But I've noticed this over the last couple of weeks, just physiologically looking at him. He looks different already. And I've always had this philosophy that a new president walks into that office, opens the drawer, and finds, I'll clean this up, the oh crap folder. It's all the stuff he or she did not know before they walked in that office. And their world changes immediately. All the promises go out the door. All their perceptions of the world go out the door. Because there are things we do not know. And one of my bucket list questions is to ask a president or former president, are there things that you know now that you wished you didn't know?
Oh,
Wow,
sure.
that's a great question.
And I would almost guarantee to everyone they'd go, absolutely.
I'm sending an email right now to the White House to get you on the White House press pass.
Nice.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you on the oh crap folder because of this.
We know Obama kept some of the security measures that he criticized Bush for.
Well, and he
Right.
went in with a very clean slate new administration, and the first person he kept was Robert Gates.
Exactly.
And so that's the transition from a different party administration to retain Robert
and I
Gates
think
was.
the concerning thing about that is that Trump has come out and said, I don't need your briefings daily. I'm good.
But that may change. I'm kind of hoping that
how
will
much of
change.
this
Well,
crap
Mike Pence is
file
getting them,
he-
and eventually Mike's going to say, Mr. President, this is something that needs your attention. But I agree with you on the oh crap folder for this reason. I've noticed that there's a lot of banter and there's a lot of criticism about predecessors, and very quickly into an administration, the predecessor and the successor become
Friends.
very relatable.
Yeah.
It and think about the transition between Clinton and Bush and how tumultuous that transition was. W's removed from the White House keys, things stolen from the White House, destroyed on their way out because the Bushes were coming in.
I don't think that was necessarily the President Clinton.
No, but there was
a lot of
obviously-
staffers were upset over this was 2000, this was
That's
Gore
right, but-
Bush. There was some contention.
But even
to
the overt public statements, they're very critical. But then there was this, and it was brought up in the campaign about how silent the Bushes were. But there was obviously a relationship that was built between the Bushes and the Clintons over that cycle.
Yeah.
Obviously between Bush Sr. and Clinton during that transition, and remarkably between G.W. Bush and Barack Obama.
Yeah.
So there's some sense that when people get in that office, that they grow their respect for who sat in that chair before.
Oh,
them.
you'd have to. Even and I love presidential history, and when you read about presidents, and I've read about presidents who I really didn't have that much thought about, and I go, Well, I'll be dadgum. You got to at least respect the fact they gave it a shot. Who would want to sit in it? I actually asked Bill Frist that question. This was one of the years that I think 2000. There was rumors Bill might try to run, and I asked him. I said, "Why would anybody want that job?"
Self-mutilation.
And he thought a long time about it, and he says, he said, you have to, in your gut, believe you can actually do something good, because otherwise you present yourself, you're a target, your family's a target,
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. He said, you have to absolutely believe in your gut you can do something. And he said, but other than that, I don't know why you'd want it. And, of course, Bill ended up not running. So it's...
Yeah, it's a tough gig.
And I think that's something that they're talking about with these cabinet appointments also. Lots of these people are leaving already very good jobs, and they're like, well, why would you want this position? You're putting yourself in a very, compromised position. You're opening yourself up to a lot of criticisms that's going to happen for forever. Your name is now in there forever, and it can either go great or it can go terrible. Yeah. But you're going to have it on both ends of the spectrum.
Well, we know that it's changing. We know it's evolving. There's going to continue to be the Twitter battle. I said it, and I'll say it again, and mark my words. As CNN rebuilds their access to the president, he's going to tell us about it.
Oh, sure.
He's going to tell us about the gift basket he gets, or you won't believe who came groveling to my office. He's going to say something, so we're going to know exactly what happens there. Interesting to watch.
If I could talk to the president-elect, I'd say, Mr. President, you've got so much more important things to deal with. Get off Twitter.
He has been told that, though.
There's something.
Somebody's told him
There's something very charming about it. There's something.
Is there?
There really is. I mean, there really is.
He feels accessible. That's what he feels
accessible,
like.
and people feel accessible to him. Like, okay, we know what he's thinking. But I really, who cares what Meryl Streep said or whatever? Get off it. There are just more important things, and I hope that dies down.
I think more so than him feeling accessible, I think this is his direct slap in the face to the media, saying, I can put out there what I want and reach the masses without having to use you. You either play by my rules or I'm going to use my phone and tell everybody what they need to know.
It's like I know the way to the field just like you do. So, but it just seems a little demeaning for the President of the United States to be doing that.
Tweeting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Well, in very related news, our existing president right now has said openly that one of his greatest achievements of his presidency was the Affordable Care Act. And bouncing around the socials in the past few days has been this wonderful article about the opinions of doctors when it comes to the Affordable Care Act. And interestingly enough, and I know this is going to be a shock to our listeners and a shock to everyone here, that it depends on what party you're related with and how old you are. So if you are a millennial doctor of the Democratic persuasion, you think it's great.
It's great.
If you are someone who's had an established practice, more conservative and older, not so much.
Not so much.
So, newsflash, partisan affiliation has to do with an opinion on affordable care. But something to be noted about younger millennial doctors and who are of the liberal persuasion.
Old enough to be doctors yet?
Absolutely. But those of the liberal persuasion, younger doctors, probably don't have the established practices and are relying on the traffic that the Affordable Care Act would bring, not realizing yet because they haven't built a lifestyle around what it would have been to actually be paid adequately for your time, speaking from an older physician's standpoint. To them, making $30, $40 a visit probably seems well enough right now, whereas seasoned doctors know that eventually that's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
You can't continue to work 80, 90 hours a week just to make the money to pay back medical school. But they'll find that out. That's what I think.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, this is a real conundrum for the Republicans. It's much more serious than being political. But I do think that they've got to be very careful how they do it. It's interesting. I saw this, one poll, and polls are worth what they're worth, that many of the people who voted for Trump and opposed Obamacare actually benefit from Obamacare. I mean, they're voting. There's and look, I think most people have a little sense to them. They're saying that most people want Obamacare gone, but they want to keep the ACA. It's
they want it to be named after someone else.
Yes, exactly.
Is what they want. Now, I see that a lot. I see that a lot with people who critique certain policies, but there's a respect that I have for someone who says, listen, I know this is in my benefit, but it's not necessarily in the benefit of the taxpayers.
Yeah.
And so even though I'm getting this benefit, my ideological core tells me that I'm getting a preference I should not get.
Is health care a constitutional right?
Well, has that been ruled on?
I don't think that
I don't think so.
Until we have a ruling, what it was ruled was it was a tax.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
was the Supreme Court ruling,
Right.
is that the Congress had the authority to implement it. It was not pursued that it was a constitutional right.
Well, and you look at, other countries that have socialized health care, and everyone loves the way it runs. They love the way it runs. Australia.
Well, they don't know any better,
Right.
but when they come down with a critical illness and they need better care,
They fly here.
Right.
Because what we know is that certain elements of the capitalism that the ACA has put constraints on is what has motivated us to be as progressive in medicine as we have. I heard someone say once, an orthopedist, actually make the statement that you can be progressive, but you have to choose where. You can be politically progressive, but you won't be economically progressive. You can be, there's always a swing, and there's a famous phrase in behavioral science that change equals loss. In order for things to change, things have to equalize. So I see some of that with ACA. We've been very progressive politically. We've opened up and we've brought access to health care, but the problem has arisen that the cost and quality of that care that now everyone has access to is maybe of social detriment. And that's the true debate.
Yeah.
It's not that people, there's a lot on Capitol Hill right now related to Obamacare, and where they're saying 30 million people are now without care, are going to be without care overnight. And the other folks are saying, but what kind of care did they have?
Right.
They had to drive 45 minutes to use it because nobody could be in the program. And, of course, the liberal rebut to that is that's why we need single payer.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we need total control to make them see them so they don't have to drive 45 minutes to visit a doctor or have
Right.
access to this. So I've always said the ACA was the gateway to a single payer system. And I think the architects of ACA, both in their past statements and writings, including Obama himself, were very open about their preference of a single-payer system.
But now the supporters of ACA, it was going to fall under its own weight sooner or later. You've got all the insurance
absolutely.
companies pulling out. Well, if you have no insurance companies participating, what do you do? It was probably well motivated. Well, I feel sure it was well motivated in some respects, but. I keep thinking about Nancy Pelosi saying, "Well, we got to pass it to find out what's in it."
We'll find out what's in it.
We're finding out.
We're definitely finding out. But you're right, it was going to collapse. And there were residual things people haven't really known because most people don't deal with.
Right.
But this was very detrimental to students. Part of ACA, in order to fund Obamacare, the government took over student loan lending
Right.
from private institutions and now sets those interest rates. And it went from a student loan refi. Interest rates are low for everybody but students right now.
Yeah.
You could refi a student loan at 2.5% after you got out of school before ACA. Now it's 6.5%.
But they weren't told that.
You can buy a home for half the price, financed, that you can get a student loan for. And it has fundamentally reshaped that industry. It's made it very expensive for people to pursue higher education, and this from an administration and from a party that says they champion access to higher ed.
Yeah.
And they have hamstringed people's ability to pay this on the back end. So that was all in the Affordable Care Act. That all took place in the. People say, well, what does that health care have to do with student loan lending? Exactly. When you've got and I'm one of the people that read it, all 997 pages at the time. I'm not even sure if it grew or shrunk, but 997 pages, and it was too much to consume intentionally, in my opinion.
Right.
It was meant to be hard to understand for the purpose of being able to curtail any objections. So there's our wonky governmental note for the day.
Do you remember? Was Neil Cavuto had the speed reader on?
Yeah.
Did
And
you
he
see
read it
that?
all.
And yeah. He actually did that.
He's trying to read it all. I do remember that. I love Neil Cavuto.
Yeah, he's great.
So in local news, back to the socials.
Don't get me in trouble.
Circulating around, and as of the point when I last checked this, we had a local video from a local resident, and I've had more than one person send me a message saying, you've got to talk about this on ManUp America. It's a local school bus going down a local road that doesn't have much of a shoulder.
Right.
And this person says in the post that they were upset the school bus cut them off, and they are filming the school bus as they're following it.
Yes.
However, the video doesn't really show the school bus driver
Cutting them off.
doesn't show them cutting them off, and it definitely doesn't show them doing anything overly reckless. They cross the yellow line a little bit, but once again, it's a narrow road, no shoulder.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a bus. There's no traffic kind of coming. But as far as speed, I've traveled this road before. It doesn't appear to be speeding to me. But here's the amazing part of that. Someone on social media takes a video, makes an accusation, presents a video that's not really conclusive, but it has 1,400 shares.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has
that's what I read
a
about.
plethora of comments, and I'm sure the reach on it's over 100,000. And so this gets perpetuated as news, which is why we've got Brian in. So when we come back after the break, I've got Brian here for two reasons. Reason number one
I'll get on my
is I'm going to
soapbox.
get his 2 cents here because he had a great write-up in the paper about the newsmakers and news creators on social media. And he's headed to the presidential inauguration.
Yeah, break from right now.
And so I want to know just exactly what he intends to do for public safety since he can't carry his firearm in Washington, D.C. So he's going to have to tell us exactly what he plans to do. But when we come back for the break, that's what we'll talk. Brian Graves here in the studio. You're listening to Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTNV Television, Charter Channel 5, Comcast 210. We're on Facebook Live, too. Digital TV station 27.1. You can see us on Facebook.com/ManUp Talk. We'll be back in a moment. The good Dr. J. Adam here, talking to all the gentlemen out there. For those of you with wives, girlfriends, even mothers, which would make all of you, you need to call 423-472-8887 and talk to the good folks at Bliss Day Spa. Nothing says I love you like the special treatment, the VIP treatment of the services of Bliss Day Spa. Call them today, 423-472-8887. Tell them the good doctor sent you from ManUp America.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
Begin your financial career today with Woodman Life by calling 423-790-2847.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations. Woodman Life has been keeping its promises to members for more than 100 years. That means we've survived the Great Depression, Black Friday, and all the other ups and downs our economy has faced. In good times and bad, we're strong and stable. We're an organization your family can count on. At Woodman Life, we've always believed that slow and steady really does win the race. Our conservative investment philosophies are just one part of the strength of our organization. What really makes Woodman Life strong is the trust and loyalty of our members.
Contact your local Woodman representative today by calling 423-790-2847. With 3 offices serving Southeast Tennessee, your Woodman representative standing by to help you.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
Are you looking to refinance your home, or perhaps you're in the market to actually purchase? Take it from the good Dr. J. Adam. There's no need to go far and wide to look for mortgage help. Call 339-8086, Home Mortgage Solutions, LLC, right here in Cleveland. Their team's prepared to help you with lending,
with refi options, just give them a call, 339-8086, and tell them the good Dr. J. Adams sent you.
We're back. WTNB Studios right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. I've got Mitch on the air. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. In the
Sorry,
studio.
I'm just watching this video right now.
The bus? You're watching the bus video?
I'm rewatching the whole
You need the bus
thing.
video. You're watching the whole thing. See if you see something I don't see. Now, I'm not going to try. I haven't said any names on the air, and this is obviously circulating. And I, for one, have been cut off by a bus before. But I've always got concerns, and we ran into this. We had a little video of a chase with what was allegedly our sheriff. Do you remember this?
Oh, believe me, I remember this.
You remember
yes,
this, Brian.
I referred to this as
You remember
well,
this. So, which completely proved to be unfounded. Wasn't even the sheriff's car. But it had done its damage in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And the damage had to be undone because of the fake news here. What concerns me about this, it is a school bus. It's on a road, so people are going to understand. They're saying it's a special ed school bus. I can't tell if it's a special ed school bus. The road it runs on, people probably know what bus this is, and there's a couple of folks who even said, my child rides this bus. On the coattails of what just happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I think we have to be very, very careful because, in my opinion, this has reached so far and wide, even with its unconclusive nature here, that school officials may be compelled just to cut ties with this driver for the sake of
convenience. No headache.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's whether it's their fault or not, it's a problem.
I don't recall. The person who posted this video, did they say they had spoken to anyone at the school system before posting
No,
this?
the original post said this Bradley County school bus, after the driver pulled out in front of me on the road, I don't want to say the road because people go out there sniffing the road, I decided to start recording. This is absolutely unacceptable to drive this reckless with people's children on board, especially a special education bus. Now, for our radio listeners, you can probably find this anywhere on social media.
You
Once
can.
again, it's
didn't
14.
remember
It's no telling what it'll be, later on. But
search Bradley County school bus and it pops up.
A lot of
immediately.
shares. I don't see anything in this bus.
I see nothing wrong in that video.
I don't see any maneuver other than what was suggested in the post that gives this call. Now, as an educator, I think you got to talk to this bus driver. You got to ask. You got to make sure people are abiding by the speed limit. Somebody said, well, it looks like they're speeding on the road.
Now,
no, not really, but I don't know.
How many times have you pulled out onto a road believing the road was clear, and then you've got somebody coming 80 miles an hour, and you go, oh, yeah.
Oh, I almost got clipped this morning dropping my kid off at daycare.
See, and here again, this is one of the things I wrote about. We don't know the whole story. We just know the perception of this one person. That's all we know. But people are taking that and running with it as if that is the entirety of the truth, and that is not, or it can't be the case because we don't know.
There are plenty of comments. I'm reading one comment here. I really hate posts like this. This person has obviously never rode a school bus. I mean, so I don't think there were kids on this bus because of the time of day that it allegedly took place.
Well, my first criticism would be this person should have called the school system or took the video, took the video to him,
right.
and then let that resolution play out. Because no one was killed, there wasn't a crash. There doesn't appear to be anything wrong. The violation that's alleged is not on video.
It's not on video. That's correct.
No, but the bus does spend a good majority of its time driving in both lanes, like not just a little bit in both lanes, but like a lot in
but on
the other
it is on one of our county roads that has no shoulder.
Right.
And if you've driven down that road, it's very easy to feel like those mailboxes are right on top of you. So even, not just a bus, but if you're pulling a trailer, oftentimes I cross the line when I'm pulling a trailer simply because a wide trailer on a road like that, you're going to stay over if a car's coming to pass and pay attention, but you're going to play it safe if you've got a little wiggle room there.
Sure.
And that's how I interpreted it with the bus. Now,
This
it
is,
didn't appear to be any children on the bus
Right.
either. Usually you can tell one of them's got their face smashed up against the glass in the back, flipping you a bird or something, depending on if it's a middle school or older bus. Well, nowadays, maybe even an elementary school bus.
Those kindergartners get wild.
Yeah, that's right. So I didn't see much here, but the point I bring it up is not to really embarrass the poster or people who've commented, but it's so characteristic of how toxic an unfounded
Yes.
media report. Again, had someone just put this video on Facebook with no caption, it wouldn't have 1,400 shares right now.
No, absolutely
Right.
not. If you just saw that video raw without anything, you wouldn't think anything about it.
I'm assuming that this poster was on her way to the school to show this video to the proper people to say, hey, what can we do about this? And
What makes you assume that, Mitch?
Yeah.
I'm praying that was the case and that we didn't just put it as a blanket statement out there saying, look at all this and
Now-
I'm not
No,
doing
it's
anything
absolute.
about it.
It's absolute. If I had to put my 2 cents on it, I would say once again, and I don't want to say too much about the poster because it's not the point of why we're bringing it up. But they're obviously upset about being cut off, and I think they filmed with the intent of catching something. Maybe they thought they caught something. It was a gotcha kind of thing. Which, once again, in a journalistic sense, you ask yourself the motive of the story a lot of times, don't you?
Yeah, I have
does
to.
This
I have to.
That happened with the sheriff's thing.
Yes,
the
it did.
person presenting this argument has made repeated attempts to get this person. So is it a credible or is this a
And,
constructed?
and that person still to this day says that was the sheriff driving the SUV.
Even
which-
though it's the TBI's unfounded it or
No,
whatever.
no.
It's
We had the person who saw it and videoed it, and saying no, it's
if
obvious.
the glove doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So
Well.
I bring it up to say it's very characteristic of how toxic social media can be. It's the reason we have the show is to say, stop it. For the love of God, stop it. Now, to expand this is exactly what Donald Trump is trying to say about his hacking, right? He's saying they're throwing it out there like it's true, and it's unfounded, it's unsubstantiated, it's not true. So, arguably,
would it
this
be
is just
funny-
seems to be wrapping everything around
Would
us.
it be funny and ironic if this person was ticketed for operating their cell phone?
Well, I started to say that.
Was
I started to say,
in
with
use?
all due respect to the poster, this person is on this narrow road
That is not a GoPro.
holding
definitely
a cell
not a
cell
GoPro.
phone, trying to.
Right.
Well,
forgive me,
and somebody said the only thing reckless I see here is you using
Right.
your phone to film
Yeah.
while you're driving.
Two wrongs are not making a
Yeah.
right in this one. I
Well,
don't
there
know.
again, the poster should have taken this, gone to the school system, talked to Dr. Cash or transportation director or whatever, and then seen that. Now, if at that point things were not satisfactorily discussed or explored, then I can see going on there and saying, I've spoke to the superintendent or I spoke to the bus coordinator. They don't seem to be interested, or maybe I can see a
Back
rant.
to social media. We live in a post-Bradley Education Alliance social media era in which you can put anything on Facebook, true or not,
Yeah.
and people consume it as if it's true. And in our local community, I bring that up because the Bradley Ed Alliance in the last school board election was very, very much a representative of that. And,
Yeah.
and then there's an argument of whether or not what they were saying was true, the cloak of anonymity, whether that was intact, or whether that was something that was appropriate. But regardless, I think it carried influence.
Oh, it definitely
I
did.
think it carried great influence, and without any accountability. And that's dangerous because maybe maybe the people with Bradley Education Alliance were credible and conscientious people. But what about the next group
Yeah.
that comes up, the Bradley Education Coalition, and they're not? But people consume them as if they are.
Yeah.
So again, very, very troublesome. But your article this past Sunday really hit that on the head. Now, again, it'll be 2 Sundays when this show airs,
Yeah.
but tell us, true to the intent of that write-up, exactly what you were driving home about what you see as a journalist about social media right now.
Well, what I see is, and maybe it's fake news may be part of this, I don't know, but there has become a trend of people posting really outrageous things. And there is, for some reason, a group of people who consume this as if it is Walter Cronkite telling them this is going on. I mean, if you see it on social media, well, it's true. I mean, you just
It's like the meme. I saw it on Facebook.
It's like, did you see that? Did you hear that? Where'd you see that? Facebook. And the problem with Facebook, and I mentioned this a little while ago, is Facebook, the postings you see on Facebook, more often than not, are posted by people with an opinion, with an agenda, giving a story that may not be the complete story. They're telling you the part of the story that plays into their view. The other part of that story may not play into their view, but you're not going to see that part of the story. Mm-hmm. Be very careful of these Facebook postings or social media sites to be aware that most of them are viewpoint or opinion or agenda driven, and the great majority. Now, there are legitimate news sources that do have Facebook postings and social media. That's fine. You believe who you want to of those. But nevertheless, for the most part, social media is opinion, agenda driven, and it is not always going to tell you the whole story or even the whole truth. You have to keep that in mind when you read social media. You have to.
Now, next week's a big week because we essentially inaugurate a new president.
45th president.
Well, coming up a few days, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to inaugurate a president. So I don't necessarily have to go to social media to get the story.
No.
Because Brian Graves is going to be on the ground.
Yeah.
What row?
I'll do good.
You'll
to
be
get to
in
the
the
Capitol
mall.
Building. I'll be on the mall somewhere.
You'll be on the mall somewhere. So tell me a little bit about what we can expect. Well, I know you don't really know what to expect. It's your first trip.
Yeah,
correct?
I've been to Washington 36 years ago, but never
for an inauguration.
Oh Lord, no! I never dreamed of it.
Are you going to try to get kind of? Is this a special interest thing about the inauguration that you're going for? Do you want to talk to people on the ground? What do you have in mind that's going to happen when you get up there?
Well, what I'm hoping to do is, and the plan is, if technology works like we hope it does, I want to send back a story. I'll be going up with a group of local Republicans, and I sort of want to see it through their eyes. And I'll be talking with our congressmen and senators, getting their reaction to it's a very localized version of what you might see on AP or NBC, CBS, or NBC. It's going to be through local eyes. And I have been I've been told that Monday I'm going to write something about just what I saw, how it looked to me, having actually been there. What is this like? That will probably be maybe a little better story because it's going to be a first-person thing. I'll describe security. What's that like to get through?
So you can go to your Cleveland Daily Banner to see some of that.
Hopefully, the good Lord willing, Sunday we'll have a full package with a lot of pictures and like I said, I'll be talking to local Republicans there and congressmen, senators. We're going to a reception with the Tennessee congressional delegation that afternoon. We'll be going to the parade. Just got a text. I think we're going to the pre-inaugural celebration Thursday night. So honestly, I do not know what to expect. Honest to gosh, and
can you Facebook Live some? I had great success with that at the convention.
I have actually thought about doing that. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. Like I say, I don't know what I'm jumping into. I'm going to be busy doing my job as a reporter, getting stuff back so people here in Cleveland can see it. But at the same time, I will be a bit in awe of all of this, just to be honest. I have every inaugural on videotape since Reagan 1980. I'm that big of a junkie.
Wow.
And so to actually be there is going to be a little strange.
I have a sneaking suspicion that this is not going to go off without some sort of drama.
Well, you know what?
So that should be exciting.
I can't say I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
That of all the inaugurations of the past, this one probably has the most potential for mischief.
It was my concern at the GOP convention was safety. Number one, you did a great article before we went up.
Yeah, that was fun.
And the whole way up, our Facebook Live posts were what's security going to look like. We'd already had some credible threats on the GOP convention. I too was kind of in awe. If there was anything that was tempering my childlike anticipation, it was like Disney World for somebody like me, who's this wonky political kid.
Yeah, well,
you know?
that's me. Yeah.
And so the only thing that tempered that was my concern for safety. And when we got up there, they'd done a bang-up job with the convention. The city of Cleveland was to be commended. Just a great, great job. But the Facebook Live thing, when I Facebooked back and I did those live videos, and I gave them my 2 cents and what we saw on the ground and what wasn't coming through traditional media outlets, I was amazed at the reception.
Yeah.
One post, 33,000, folks. And it wasn't just back here, but, I have family back home, South Georgia, from all over the place, 33,000 people consuming that content. And I think part of the reason people kept watching my Facebook Live videos was I was a credible person. I wasn't trying to put necessarily the spin on it.
Sure.
I really did try to do the Brian Graves report it how it is kind of thing.
One thing, Emily Beatty was nice enough to send us daily reports, and I got a lot of comments about how impressed people were by Emily's reporting of what happened, because she was fairly blunt when it wasn't good, which is unusual. Blake Ketterman, who I consider a friend, going to the Democrat convention, was a little more party rah-rah.
Oh, he's a good party man. He's been on this show.
Blake is definitely a party man.
I think the shrink said, "Oh, you're a good party man, Blake."
Honestly, I'm excited. I'm nervous. My one goal is to get a really good report back to the people home. But it's going to be a little bit. I remember I met Red Skelton. And, you always think about what you're going to say to these people. And I had all these wonderful things. And Mr. Skelton, I've watched you for years. Thank you for all the. And I wake up and he shakes my hand, and I have nothing to say. It's like, this is the same kind of thing. I really am awestruck by just the opportunity to go. It doesn't matter who's being inaugurated. Is the peaceful transition of power, which is totally unusual and awe-inspiring, and it's going to be something. Like I say, I don't know what to expect.
I'm going
to try to Facebook Live.
I sympathize. I did a concert with Shania Twain once, and then she walks up next to me backstage, and she's standing there, and I look over, and the only thing I can say is, "Wow, you're short." And so that was my 2 cents with Shania Twain. That's all we have for today here on WTMB ManUp America. I'm the good Dr. J. Adam. Brian Graves, thank you for being in. Good luck at the inauguration. Mitch in the studio with us. Again, you're listening to us on Talk 101.3 The Buzz, WTMB Television. And now we're out.
So, how's the new job?
Love it, but it's not